When you look at the reality and focus on some part of it, you come to the concept of the system. What is a system? So, you look at some part of reality and start exploring it. What do you find there? The first thing is objects. These are fragments of this part, what you are considering and what you want to focus on. And the second thing you will find there is the relationships between these objects. So again, you look into the some part of our reality or universe. You focus on only some part of it. And what you find there? You find there some objects and some relationships between these objects. These objects, in the context of the system, called elements. You can choose these objects as you want, according to your goal. Maybe you want to focus on very little objects. You want to go deep as possible as you can and find some elements that you can divide anymore. Or maybe you don't want to do this. Maybe you have some other goal. You want to describe it at some macro level, or maybe you want to describe it at some micro level. And depending on this, you select the zoom of your zoom of these objects. When you focus on sub part of the reality, you draw the boundaries in your imagination. Okay, you draw some boundaries, and all that inside these boundaries, the objects and the elements inside these boundaries, and the relationships between in these boundaries actually forms the system. And all what outside these boundaries is all other universe is environment. And of course there is interactions between the system inside of the boundaries and the outside with the environment. We interact each with other. In other words, they exchange information, energy and matter. So here they can see that they have some system and it has boundaries and it has surroundings, and of course there is some inputs coming to our system and it has some output. So it somehow interacts with the environment. They can classify the systems. So system can be isolated, can be closed and can be open. Isolated system, we do not exchange, there is no exchange of the energy between the system and its environment, and no exchange of matter. If we look at the closed system, we can see that there is no exchange of matter, but there is exchange of energy. And I think that there exists exchange of the energy, also there exists the exchange of the information. So in the closed system. But in the isolated system, there is theoretically there is no exchange of the energy, matter and information. And in the open system, there is exchange of the matter, of the energy and of the information. Interesting that, as I said, the isolated system exchange neither matter nor energy with its environment. How can this be? can define the system which not exchange its environment. If the system has boundaries, these boundaries somehow connected with the environment, and there must be some exchange between these two things. But theoretically, if you look at the all possible universe, all that exist, what is the boundaries in this way? This boundary is somewhere in the infinity, and there is no boundaries, and so there is no communication, and theoretically this can be a closed system, our universe. Also, we can classify the system by its creation. Where exist the natural systems and human-made system, and also I think exists a hybrid system. What is a natural system? The natural system is the system which it's created as phenomena. It just exists. You can observe when they exist, and there is nothing to do to create them. And also there exists a human-made system, which made by humans. And of course, I think this is a hybrid system. Then you can, or exists also a hybrid system. Then you can take some system that already exists and somehow modify it, remove some elements, or create some relationships, and so on. And if we look, can be system be just human-made? I don't know. Maybe there are some abstract systems which exist only in our mind. Maybe this system made only by us. But in the reality, when they want to create some system which have the material parts, we need to. So I think this is a hybrid system, because these parts exist as a matter, and it just exists by itself. Now, after all this, now ask yourself, why you look exactly into this part of the reality? Why not into this? Why not into this? Why you choose only this? I think you do this because this part of the reality make attraction to you, because this part of reality has some function, and it has some goal, and that's why you look exactly into this part of reality. If this part of reality had no function and purpose, it would not attract your attention. So it's just like a smooth background. You can extract any object, any system there. There is no structure, and there is no any meaningful information in this part for you, and that's why you don't want to focus there and look at this part as a system. So you find that exactly this part of the world, of the reality, has some elements as points, and the relationship between these elements, and as a whole these elements provide some function in this world and has a goal in this world. So for example, if this is a cat, this cat wants to survive in this world, and that's why it has a function to catch this mouse, to eat it and to survive. Okay. Or for example, if you look at the stone, of course this is a system because it has some boundaries, and it wants to stay in its form. So I think this is only of its function and its goal. It wants to stay as it is. It don't want to do any interaction or some I think some joining with other elements. It's just as it is. Also, let's introduce the notion of the component of the system. What is a component? The component is some. If we look at some system, we can extract the subsystem there, and this subsystem has some sub-goal in the context of the whole system. Okay. For example, if we look at the system as a cat, we can say that it has a component as the cat eyes. They have some sub-functions, sub-goals for the cat, and they are used by this cat to do some goals which this cat want to achieve. Okay. Also, let's introduce the notion of the connection. The connection is that if we have the element in the system, and this element, when it enters to the system, it now has some constraints. It loses some abilities. In contrast to that, then it was outside the system. For example, if we have the political system and the man enters into this political system, it has some constraints. In contrast to that, if he lives in the desert island, for example. So because the system has its goal, and this determines because that the system must put some constraints on its elements to achieve this goal. It wants that the elements inside the system behave like the certain way that the system expects from them. Also, system has a structure. What is a structure? The structure is some information that determines the main laws in which this system exists. So I think this like some invariants or maybe some propositions about this system in the logical terms, which always holds, and they determine exactly what this system is. So they determine its structure. Since systems exist in reality, they have the notion of state. So what is a state? This is like a snapshot of this subpart in which we look in all that inside the boundaries of the system. We do the snapshot like a photo in the certain moment of time, and actually this is the system state. Also, system has behavior. I think this is the information which determines how the system transform from one state into the another, and maybe where exist some laws of these transfers, and they must hold. And of course, this behavior determined by the goal of the system. Where is also exist a notion of the evolution of the system. Evolution of the system is a natural change in the system over time, during which not only its state can change, but also its physical nature, its structure and behavior, and even purpose. For example, if you look at the caterpillar, it with time transfers into the butterfly, and this actually two different objects, the different structure and different goals, but you can look at them as a one system. But it has very complex evolution where it has very significant changes over time. And of course system has a life cycle, so this is all that exists between the point that the system was born and between the point that the system dies. And also the death of the system doesn't mean the death of the elements of the system. So for example, if the human body dies, then the bacteria that live inside us is not dying at this moment. There is only death of the brain, of our consciousness, and bacteria is still alive. But maybe the elements of the system have some more abilities now, because there is no constraints which system puts on these elements. But you can look at this at some different point. For example, there exists a theory that our bacteria create our brain. The goal that brain will create good condition for living the bacteria inside us. So in this meaning, the death of the brain is not good event for our bacteria. And maybe in some systems this will be this is a nice philosophical question. So we can say that for some system the death of the system is good for its elements, and for some system the death of the system is very bad for its elements. Yes, we can classify the system by this property. And interesting that which kind of these two systems has more stability. I think the system that there's a system like a parasite of its elements, they don't have very nice stability, so they exist a little amount of time. But the system where the system itself is provides some value to its elements, this system will have a bigger living interval of time. So pay attention to that system you are placed in as an element. Also interesting that the system has somehow a hierarchical structure. So we have some system nested into in other systems and so on. And of course the biggest system is our universe. They are all the possible that exist, and we are all elements of the system. So this system must have goals, and these goals put on us some constraints, and in the same times we have some goals, and they put these constraints into our subsystem, and so on and so on. This is very deep connection, very deep network. Let's also say about demarcation from the environment. The system, we can say that the system, if you look inside this system, for the observer, the strength of the value of the connections of the elements within the system is higher than the strength of the value of the connections with the element inside the system with the elements outside the system, without with elements of the environment of the system. So we focus on the connections which lies between the elements which are inside these boundaries. We don't interested in the they're interested by but the strength of this interest is less than the interest of the connections of the elements inside the system. Also, there exists a notion of the synergy or the emergence or holism or synthetic effect. This is a superadditive effect, the appearances or the properties in the system that are not inherent in its elements. So, as I said, system is more than its elements, and the synergy is the appearance of some properties, some new properties which not exist inside these elements.